Story 1. I blame my partner for being too incompetent. We are both laboratory mice who escaped from our cage at a laboratory. I am a genius, but he is insane and keeps accidentally foiling my plans due to sheer ignorance, in a comical fashion. Story 2. Still waiting for my villain origin story to be tragic enough. Right now, it is just mild inconvenience and caffeine dependency. Story 3. My years have mellowed me, and despite what people say, it is difficult to find a velvet glove that fits an iron fist well. Story 4. I was born in an age in which defeating my opponents in one-to-one combat is illegal. Therefore, I am unable to build the necessary power base needed to claim rights as a king. Story 5. Paperwork. Have you seen the amount involved every day? Just initialing the death warrants alone takes an hour or two daily. I have no idea how Joseph Stalin managed it. Story 6. Laws and lack of power and connections with the right people. Let's be honest, being a lone wolf is not the best if you want to rule the world. Story 7. Ruling the world sounds like a lot of responsibility, and I am actually trying to be better about saying no to things. Story 8. Who says I am not ruling the world with my iron fist right now? You just do not know it yet. Bow to your queen, peasant. Story 9. Today's world is not worth ruling. There is not a single good thing about what we are doing as humanity. Story 10. I fall into the Douglas Adams school of absolute rulers. Those qualified to take on such an enormous responsibility would never want the job. Story 11. It takes time to perfect the skills required to rule with an iron fist. I am 72 and I have not gone past setting some boundaries for myself with the rubber fist. Story 12. My people are not allowed to let the humans see our true forms yet. Not until the year 2037. Then you will all submit to your reptilian overlords. Story 13. My excuse is that I do not want to rule with an iron fist. My power fantasy is to help everyone who needs it with empathy and kindness. Story 14. My own procrastination is likely due to having attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I will talk to a specialist at the end of the month. Then my plan really begins. Story 15. I realized that my leadership would probably only benefit myself, my family, and my friends to the detriment of everyone else. I decided to step aside and see if someone else could do a better job. Story 16. 1. Laziness. 2. My thoughts on humanity grow bleaker by the minute. I would use my power to be as cruel as possible to those who deserve it, thus becoming one of them. Story 17. Because taking over the world is not that simple. Even if you manage to take over a country, there are many other countries that do not take kindly to attempts to take them over. The last time someone tried to take over the world, the result was World War II and the subsequent Cold War. Story 18. I am a 59-year-old male. I rely on my native intelligence and cleverness to work as little as possible for as much money as possible. I have no interest in ruling the world or anything else. Story 19. Not enough money to start my own army and not enough connections to the black market to gather the proper equipment to take over. Story 20. My fists were ground to dust while trying to survive on $20 an hour when the cost of living is closer to $80 an hour. Story 21. I believe it was Marcus Aurelius who said something about the best ruler is the one who does not want to rule over others. And there you have it. As your natural leader, I am supposed to pretend I do not want the job. Story 22. I am more of a marry the man who does that type than the do that myself type. I could rule the world with an iron fist, but I would rather not. Story 23. Fear, incapability, arrogance, and contentment. These are the 4 key factors that prevent every healthy person in the world from achieving their lifelong goals. Story 24. A girl deeply affected me. Otherwise, let's just say things would have played out differently on the global geopolitical scene. Story 25. Who wants the workload? I would rather sit back and watch the powers that be make mistakes, fail, and become dethroned. Story 26. I'm more interested in smaller scale, bigger impact realities. I don't believe that the world deserves my rule. If I were to rule the world, I would seek to make it a great place for great people. But the people are not great. They are selfish, petty, and filled with vice. The amount of effort required to do any good is beyond what the world is capable of compensating me for. There is literally not enough money, power, access, or experience in the world to seem to deal with you on that scale. Story 27. I still have time. My middle school mathematics teacher said I was the most likely person to grow up and become a dictator, so that is something. Story 28. I do not want the responsibility that comes with it. I can barely handle the minor responsibilities I have now. Story 29. Sadly, I was not born as the male heir to the Ottoman, Roman, British, or Spanish Empire ruler during its peak. My goal is to get into art school someday. If that fails, maybe I can give world domination a try. Story 30. Several once-in-a-lifetime world crises and 15% less wealth than our grandparents held at this age. Story 31. Being dictator of the world is not as great as it seems. Long hours punishing dissidents, no freedom to go anywhere without guards, and no good music because you have to ban it to keep people pacified. It just seems like too much work. Story 32. It would be too much work to rule. I much prefer sitting back and watching all the fools trying to do it. Story 33. Oh, that's easy. The law. I am patiently waiting for the time when the laws of man do not apply. Insurrection, alien invasion, zombie apocalypse, Skynet taking over, civil war. I do not care. I firmly believe we will have a window of time when it will be more like the purge. Until then, it is yes sir and no ma'am. Let me get that door for you. But if and when that time comes, I will either be dead in a day, or I will be your warlord. I will accept no in between. Story 34. It is already working pretty much how I want it to be, so I do not see the point of being another chef in the kitchen. Story 35. It is the most futile and infuriating form of babysitting I can think of, and it involves too much work and too many foolish people. Story 36. You people do not deserve me. I refuse to lower myself just to drag you from the sewer to the gutter. So long and thank you for all the fish. Story 37. Ruling people seems exhausting and unfulfilling. I would rather live in a cabin deep in the woods, away from it all. Story 38. I do not want to rule the world with an iron fist. It requires a lot of administration just to run a shop. Imagine how difficult it would be to run the entire world. Imagine how many emails you would be expected to reply to. Story 39. My mother hid my iron fist when I threw spaghetti at my little brother when I was 8. I am still looking for it. Story 40. Knowing my limits, or really just having my limits, knowing about them did not really help me much. Due to complex childhood trauma, I am the poorest of managers. Even once I realized this and tried to compensate, I masked well until things started to go wrong. Then, I fell back into horrible patterns. Because I am skilled at what I do, I spent my entire career performing well as an individual contributor, being promoted into a management position, failing catastrophically, returning to an individual contributor role, and then repeating this pattern freely. It was notable that even in my advancing years, when I told managers who tried to promote me that I was a poor manager and explained why, they still tried. Only after much soul-searching was I able to decline the promotion, knowing that this time it would be no different than the previous times. Story 41. The working class refuses to unite, overthrow the rich, and seize the resources and wealth for themselves. They know there is more than enough money hoarded at the top for every one of them to live a life with access to healthy food, medicine, housing, and leisure. However, even with so much to gain, they are terrified of losing what they have now. How am I supposed to corrupt the ideal proletariat government and turn it into a weapon for total authoritarian global domination if the people will not revolt in the first place? Story 42. I walk like Jesus and love like Caesar. What can I say? Life is better when you keep it simple. Who in their right mind actually wants to rule the world anyway? That is just nuts. Story 43. Too much work. Ask yourself why every president ages 20 years during their 4 years in office. I always heard you could never get rich working for someone else, but you also cannot lose everything. I do not need to be rich. I am fine being upper middle class. I am what I call constructively lazy. I work hard to make things right, then coast. Success is retirement. Story 44. I have spent the last 20 years trying to reduce my stress level. The next person can take that job. Story 45. I will. I just need to finish playing all the games I have in my library. Oh, this one is on discount. At Story 46. Definitely the lack of financial capacity. I don't think a fundraising campaign for world domination would go well. It would probably be a terms of service violation. That being said, if I had the money to rule the world with an iron fist, I would be firm but fair. Dental coverage would be provided for everyone because teeth are far more important than governments seem to think. The consequences for neglecting dental hygiene would be severe. No less than 30 brushings with toothpaste flavored like Irish spring soap. I guarantee a citizen of the world would only fail to brush their teeth at most once. Yes, there would be a tooth brigade whose job is to make sure that my glorious people are brushing every day. Leniency would be given for flossing because flossing can be a real pain at times, and we have all lied to our dentist when asked if we are flossing. Story 47. I blame lending money to the wrong people and taking on more stress than needed. Two individuals whom I met borrowed around 900,000 Indian rupees, approximately 11,000 US dollars, from me and disturbed my mental peace at an inopportune time. Story 48. Because my overly elaborate schemes continuously fail, possibly due to my mentally incompetent colleague. Although my plan involving a microwave and non-dairy powdered creamer did come close. Story 49. I signed a technology treaty with the government. I will not use the technology to overthrow my government. Story 50. I am tired. I do not like multitasking. I would say to kill someone as a joke and then accidentally become a monster. Story 51. Honestly, I can barely control my sleep schedule, let alone the world. Also, I tried taking over once, but the Wi-Fi went out and I forgot what I was doing. Let's be real. Ruling the world sounds exhausting. I just want snacks and a nap. Story 52. My fist is mostly flesh and bone, though there is iron in my blood. Also, I let a broken heart break me. Story 53. For the majority of my life, I did not plan to be around this long, so I was not planning ahead as I should have been. Honestly, with the job hunt going the way it is, I think world domination might be viable. Story 54. This situation is laughable and there is nothing here to judge. Do you enjoy managing chaos and feeling like you accomplished something when in reality you have not done anything? I think I will leave that to the more qualified individuals, thank you. Story 55. Having a bad back. I am not sure that carrying around an iron fist would do me any good. I would be willing to accept brass though. Story 56. I already did it, got bored, and erased everyone's memory of my leadership. Now, if anyone tries to think of my reign, only memes come to mind. Story 57. Welcome to Asperger's. The main reason why I have not climbed the corporate ladder is that, although I may have the intelligence and have developed some people's skills along the way, I lack the ruthlessness, common sense, and ingratiating skills to rise that high. Story 58. I have been battling disabilities my whole life, some of which I did not even know existed until recently. Story 59. Sadly, the Death Note does not exist. If it did, I would need a whole pack of pens for the names I would put in it. Story 60. I am Generation X. I was born checked out. In theory, with a 170 intelligence quotient, being 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighing 18 stone with half Scottish heritage, I should heal like a troll and have been able to dominate. In practice, autism and inherited alcoholism led me to use all my gifts to party like a teenager for about 30 years. Took COVID-19 to slow me down. I never caught it, but nobody wanted to go out anymore. By the time everything reopened, I had lost a lot of momentum. I still go out and party. I have a meetup with old workmates for a drink on Friday and a metal concert to attend on Sunday, but I have to pace myself now. Story 61. I am kind and cannot be bothered ordering more executions. The guillotine needs to be cleaned weekly, and it is costing too much. Story 62. In real life, I am a people pleaser with no social skills who walks on eggshells around everyone. Online, I am assertive, though. Story 63. I have already defeated my enemies, seen them driven before me, and heard the lamentations of their women. What more is there? Bureaucratic red tape. No thanks. Story 64. You think you want to, but you don't. You get there, right? Now the world can stop being so bad, you say. But then you realize, oh no, I'm responsible for everything now. You make some rules. They seem pretty good, and maybe they are. But someone starts finding ways to exploit them, so you come down on that person. In doing so, you begin to look harsh. Belief in your power wanes. You come down harder. But wait, you wanted to rule with an iron fist, not to be harsh about it. You waver. The threats move in closer. You realize you don't have the luxury of being soft anymore. You clench your iron fists again. An eternal prison. Your handcuffs. Locked before you knew what you were becoming. Also, it's really hard. Story 65. It would require entirely too much time and effort for too little benefit. Could you imagine the paperwork? Shudders. Story 66. Because I have not yet had these experiences, born into some amount of wealth, suffered heel spurs, managed several businesses out of solvency, including casinos, hotels, and luxury golf courses, grabbed a woman inappropriately, committed sexual assault, become convicted of 34 felonies. Story 67. I have decided that I do not want to cause so much suffering. Based on the political landscape, I will not release my prototypes to the world. They are advanced enough to be exploited to change the violence and surveillance tactics of a harmful government. I could either be lying or holding on to technology that might force me to let someone abuse it or abuse it myself to prevent anyone from ruling over me. I do not want to deal with all that. Story 68. I do not want a job in management. I do not know how to make people listen to me, even on important matters, and frankly, I have given up trying. Story 69. I was class president in high school. That was more political power than I ever wanted to deal with. It was a miserable and ridiculous experience, and I assume more power only brings more drama. Story 70. Started smoking marijuana. All that dreaming of ruling the world turned into not caring about anything except my marijuana. Story 71. Being born into extreme poverty in a family plagued with addictions and mental illnesses. I am happy to be alive, doing well, and having raised great children. That is enough for me. Story 72. Got distracted for about 15 years with marijuana, women, and getting way too into music. Now I am in my 40s, and it just does not seem like it would be fun. Story 73. These force-fed pills from the doctor and marijuana from the pharmacy have me sitting, playing Call of Duty with an iron ashtray. Story 74. My military is not large enough to pose a threat to anyone. At this point, it is pretty much just me. There are probably a million reasons why I am not the king of the world. Story 75. Have you met people? They are the worst. Why would I want to rule them? I just want to drink coffee and hang out with my dog. Story 76. As I get older, I realize that younger individuals would outpace me in everything. If I were to rule the world, I would have to contend with this younger generation, and eventually one would succeed in replacing me. Story 77. I don't eat steak and eggs on a wooden cutting board for every meal. I don't do ice baths or wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and I don't sell online courses. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.